Hey, what's up, everybody? Chris Burden from Board on a Thursday. Going to be talking NBA draft today, and specifically, we're going to be getting into the New York situation with Porzingis. We're going to be talking about the Mavericks at number 9, what I think they should do, and also discussing other teams in the draft, how they can move up, some picks that I think they'll make, and some teams that I think should make some trades or think about making some trades to improve their team over the long haul. So let's go ahead and get into it, and we'll start off with New York. So New York is a team that right now has no vision of what they want to be, where they want to go. They have a couple nice pieces. Carmelo's aging. He's at the end of his career. But you have Porzingis, one of the best young talents in the league, and they don't know what to do with him. They would rather put him on the block and get a bunch of picks, I guess, to build that way. But my thing is, you can build around Porzingis for the next decade. Now, the one negative on him is that he has been kind of banged up here and there over the first 2 years in his career. So is that something they're thinking about when talking about possible trades for him? I don't know. But as far as I'm concerned, if you are going to trade him, I don't understand why Boston isn't going all in on that. I mean, you put Porzingis with Isaiah Thomas and the rest of that crew, and then you still have picks down the line. Plus, you could bring in a Hayward, or that's something that wouldn't hit your cap very hard because he's on the rookie salary scale. So you could do so many things with Porzingis on your roster that wouldn't hurt you long term. So if you're the Knicks, what can you get for Porzingis? I think their asking price is too high. They're asking for, a top 5 pick this year. I think top 4 actually. They're asking for a young starter and another piece. And right now with this draft, it's just going to be hard to get that unless you're a team like Boston or Philly that has all these assets just kind of bundled up. And like I've always thought, if you're Boston, holding on to all these picks doesn't mean anything if you're just going to keep drafting, 19-year-olds every year and not turning the point of accumulating draft picks is to go out and get superstars. If you're not, look at Philly. Yeah, you can say, the process. They could have traded a lot of those first-round picks and had a playoff team last year. Now they've set themselves in a good spot now, but Boston hasn't drafted the same way Philly has. Boston hasn't had Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, and now it looks like they're going to get Fultz. Boston's drafted Marcus Smart. They've drafted Terry Rozier, who's, a decent player. They've drafted Jaylen Brown last year with the number 3 pick. He doesn't look like he's panned out so far. It's 1 year, so a small sample size, but still, he didn't have a very good rookie year. So if you're Boston, I don't understand what the holdup is. I cannot imagine them not being on the phone constantly trying to get that deal done. If you give up the number 3 pick, Crowder, and then a 2018 pick, because you got 3 of them, I think, I don't think that's a bad deal, because you still, I wouldn't give up the Brooklyn Nets pick, but I would give up your own pick, and, you have a shot at that LA spot if it's 2 through 5. So you have a lot of options, and you just got to get something done. You got to show that, hey, we're not satisfied with being Cleveland's, doormat. We're going to go out and try to improve this roster. So let's just get into real quick some, we're going to go lottery based on what we think some of these teams, or what I think some of these teams are going to do. And most of the people around the league think that the top 2 are set. Fultz going to Philly and Lonzo Ball following him going to LA. I don't know if that's the pick I would make if I'm the Lakers. I'm not sold on Lonzo Ball as an NBA player. Everybody's like, oh, he can pass like this and he's got vision like this guy. Man, I saw him get lit up for 39 in the tournament by De'Aaron Fox. And to me, that shows you more than any amount of, highlight reels and anything else. When it came down to it, when the season was on the line, he faltered, and De'Aaron Fox took over that game and completely dominated him in a one-on-one matchup, basically. So I wouldn't take, if I was LA, I would take probably Josh Jackson there just because I think he's more versatile. I think right now, the way the league's going, you got to have those wings that can guard, multiple positions. Brandon Ingram's not a great defender, so you kind of you need another guy to facilitate that and to help him on the defensive end. And I think he could turn into a pretty, nice offensive player. But let's go with what, everything we're hearing is telling us, which is that they're going to take Lonzo Ball, number 2. So you got Philly taking Fultz, number 1. Lakers take Ball. Number 3 is where it gets interesting, the Celtics. So I've heard that they like Josh Jackson. I've also heard that they're starting to like Jason Tatum. If I'm them, I'm going for Tatum because your problem last year wasn't your defense. Your problem was your offense. You don't have enough people on your squad that can put the ball in the hoop when you need a basket. So if I'm them, Jason Tatum is a way more polished offensive player than Josh Jackson. I think everybody would agree with that has seen both of those guys play. Jason Tatum could come in tomorrow and score in the NBA. I think Josh Jackson could defend a little bit, but like I said, you've already got Avery Bradley. Jay Crowder's a pretty good defender. You've got some guys that can play defense. You need somebody that can score. Other than Isaiah Thomas, who do you have on that team that can get you 20 night in and night out? Jason Tatum might be able to do that. So if I'm them, I'm taking Jason Tatum at 3. That leaves Josh Jackson at 4, and I think they go that route because they've got way too many point guards on that team anyways. They need a wing, and I just think he fits with what they're trying to do. They're young. They're athletic. They've got a pretty good little backcourt with, I heard they're trying to shop Eric Bledsoe right now. So depending on what you can get for him, you could maybe pick up another pick and a player, maybe a bench guy. So they have some options. Devin Booker seems like a really good young 2-guard. So go out, get the guy that's going to make your defense better because you have plenty of offensive options right now. Go out, get the defender, and make more of a balanced team, and I think that helps you compete next year for a playoff spot. Moving on to the 5th pick, we got the Kings. They've got 2 picks in the top 10. Their first pick, I think they go De'Aaron Fox from Kentucky. I really like De'Aaron Fox. I wish that the Mavs were a little bit higher. They could take him. To me, he just seems like the guy, other than Fultz, I feel like he's the next best point guard in this draft. He's already proven it with his play. He's going to need to improve his jumper. But, he hung 39 on UCLA in the Sweet 16 and completely dominated that matchup. His defense is better than Lonzo Ball's. I think his leadership, to me, is better. Getting, a lot of times people say, oh, well, Lonzo Ball can make all the guys around him better. Let's not forget he's playing with some good players. It's not like he's playing with a bunch of scrubs out there. He's got TJ Leaf, and he had the other guy that's going to go later in the first round. I can't remember his name. But I think they go De'Aaron Fox, the Kings do, at number 5, which leads me to number 6 with the Magic. And I hate to say this because I wish that he would slip somehow to the Mavs. But Malik Monk, I believe, goes to the Magic. They need shooters. They need guys that can put the ball in the hole. And he just seems like the best fit there. He's probably the best scorer in the draft, pure scorer. And he could really help that team just kind of build. They've got a bunch of projects on their team. I feel like Aaron Gordon hasn't really got going. He's best known for his dunk contest stuff, and that's cool. But Elfrid Payton, they got a bunch of these guys that I'm not sure they know what they have with them. So get Malik Monks, get a guy that can fill it up and see where he could take your team. With number 7, now I keep hearing that the Mavs and Timberwolves are talking about a trade that would swap those picks. Last I heard, those talks were kind of dead, but the initial trade was the number 7 in Rubio for Wes Matthews and the number 9. The Mavs are ultra reluctant to part ways with Wesley Matthews. I'm not exactly sure why. I like Matthews, but he can't stay on the floor. He's never healthy. So, plus he's got he's making a pretty decent salary. Rubio, compared to what other point guards are going to make this summer, his contract's not bad at all. I'm not a huge Rubio fan, so it doesn't matter to me. I think if they move up or down, I I just hope they don't reach for someone that later on they're going to wish that they hadn't, just because they want to, move up 2 spots. But the Timberwolves, let's say the Timberwolves stay there. I think Jonathan Isaac goes there from Florida State. This guy is super long. I mean, I think he's 6'10", and as far as just athletic freaks, I think he is probably the top one in this draft class. I don't know. I don't want to say he's the most athletic guy in the class, because there's some guys like Josh Jackson that are ultra athletic, but he could do multiple things. If this guy could get a consistent offensive game going, he could be really tough in the league to deal with. Apparently, he loves playing defense. He's a guy that I think could anchor your, 3 to 4 spot defensively the way the game's going. 4s aren't those back down guys anymore. They're the guys that hang out around the perimeter. There's not going to be many guys that he can't guard out there. So I see the Timberwolves picking him at number 7. Number 8, the Knicks have been linked to the French kid, Frank. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name, so we'll just say Frank. They've been linked to him. Apparently, they also like Dennis Smith Jr. I think you're just hearing too much stuff about the French kid. I think they take him, number 8, and that leaves the Mavs at number 9. Early on, a lot of people were saying they'll take Markkanen. He's kind of a clone of Dirk, I don't think you put that on that kid. I mean, to come in and already have that expectation, I just think it would be way too much. I would like to see them go for Dennis Smith Jr. out of NC State. He fills your point guard need. He's a scorer. He's tough. He played a game against Duke earlier in the year where he just completely took over that game. I like his competitiveness. He played on a really bad team last year, but you can't hold that against a guy, playing in the ACC where you've got Duke, North Carolina, and all these other teams, Louisville. He just didn't have the team around him to do anything. And Ben Simmons, let's not forget, his team played in the SEC and couldn't make the tournament there. So I think that getting Dennis Smith there at 9 would be a steal for them. I would be thrilled if they made that pick. Some other options that the Mavs have, that Dirk is going to he's going to opt out of his player option, just see where they can use that money this summer, seeing who they can bring in. A guy I wouldn't mind them kind of, putting some feelers out, seeing what he would cost is Rudy Gay. Rudy Gay, you have Harrison Barnes at the 3 right now, but Rudy Gay, the way the league's going, he could play the 4 for a little bit. Harrison Barnes played the 4 at times last year. So you pair those 2 guys together, I just think you can mix and match your lineups a lot. So I would like to see them kind of kick the tires on him and see what he's going to cost, what his price tag is going to be. And if you can get him, I think that's a really good piece to go around what you've already got. So let's move on to the number 10 pick, which belongs to the Sacramento Kings. They'll be up again, and I think they take Markkanen out of Arizona. Just getting that 1-2 tandem of De'Aaron Fox and Markkanen, they could be running pick and rolls, for the next 5 to 6 years at least. I think that build that gives them a good little foundation to get things rolling back on track after trading away DeMarcus Cousins. And if you come out of this draft with 2 starters for next year, I think that's a complete win for them and a good start to getting back to the playoffs where they want to be. Next pick, they've got the Hornets up. They, of course, they traded for Dwight Howard a couple days ago. And I think if they hadn't have done that, I think they would have looked at Zach Collins here. But since they did that, I think they're going to go Luke Kennard from Duke. The best shooter in the draft, I don't think it's even close. Malik Monk is there with him, but Kennard's the best shooter in this draft. He's also a really good scorer. He probably improved his game more than anybody from last year to this year, and I think he's just going to get better and better. You look at what J.J. Redick can do in Los Angeles. He's pretty underrated. I think Luke Kennard can be that kind of player for you. And I think his offensive game is more polished coming out of college than J.J. Redick's was. I know J.J. Redick scored more points and got more accolades and things like that, but Kennard can score from all over the floor. He's I think, a better ball handler, so he could run a little bit of point for you if you needed him to. I just think Luke Kennard's a really good player, and I would take him there at number 11 if I'm the Hornets. Number 12, I've got Zach Collins from Gonzaga going to Detroit. Their power forward position is kind of lackluster, and I don't think they're really committed to Andre Drummond. So if they can move Andre Drummond and then get Collins and another piece, or even if they don't, if they keep the roster the way it is, I think Collins fits in with what they're wanting to do. He's got a nice little outside jump shot, so he can spread the floor for you a little bit, give some more room down there for Drummond to operate. And I just think it's a no-brainer for them. If Luke Kennard is there, I think they take him. But since he went a pick ahead, I'll go Collins to the Pistons at number 12. Number 13, the Nuggets. I think right now they're trying to get the guy that can come in and immediately help their team. And I think the guy that can come in, replace Gallinari if he ends up leaving, and also give you a good foundation for the future is Justin Jackson from North Carolina. Justin Jackson, to me, if I was a GM, he'd be much higher on my draft board than they have him, because I saw this guy play a lot, watching a lot of Duke, North Carolina games, and this guy can score in bunches and in a variety of different ways. I think he's one of the top 3 scorers in the draft. I think the way the NBA is now, where you need long wings that can score in multiple different ways, I think he's perfect for what the game has become. And if they get him here, he could turn into one of the guys that turns that franchise around, just because he's able to do so many different things. He's a winner. He's got a great work ethic, and I think that they would be foolish to pass him up in this spot. So that brings us to the last pick of the lottery, which belongs to the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat have a bunch of different ways they could go with this pick. They could trade it. With Pat Riley calling the shots, you don't really know what he's going to do. So if they keep the pick, I could see them going for the guy out of Indiana, OG Anunoby, I think is his name. I'm sorry if I butchered that. But he gives them that toughness, kind of that Justin Winslow also gives them. I think that he's super athletic, can do a lot of different things. And, that's where the NBA is going now. It's all about what you can do on the perimeter, what you can do on the wings. And I think at that spot, he's the best player there that can fill that role. So that's the lottery picks that I have. I want to talk about a couple of teams that I think should make some trades, not necessarily who they, can get for them, because I'm not qualified enough to know what you can get for what. So I'm going to just run down, 4 or 5 teams that I think should make trades to improve their team. Number 1 is the Portland Trailblazers. They've got 3 first-round picks this year. They've got a backcourt of Damian Lillard, C.J. McCollum. Apparently, they're going to try to get rid of some of these salaries that they've got. Alan Crabb. They've got Evan Turner. So if they can unload one of those in a pick, get another player that can help them right now, I would do that. Having 3 picks in the first round right now doesn't really do you any good if you're already a playoff team. You've got to go out and solidify your starting rotation. I think they should do that, and I hope that they do, because you don't want to waste one of the best backcourts in the league because you're drafting all these young guys that are going to take time to develop in the league. So another team I think that should look to make some trades is the Pistons. I think they got to figure out what they want to do as a franchise. Do they want to keep going the route they're going, where they can't even make the playoffs in the East, or do they want to blow it up and start over? If it's me, I'm blowing it up. I'm getting rid of Drummond. I'm getting rid of Reggie Jackson. I'm just blowing the whole thing up and starting fresh. Keep Caldwell Pope, make him happy, and then hit on your draft pick this year, hopefully add to it, and just restart this thing. Because with this core right now, you're not going anywhere. So you might as well blow it up and try another route. I would like to see Phoenix, and I talked about this earlier. Phoenix has been rumored to be in the market for trading Eric Bledsoe. That's not the point guard I would be getting rid of, but it's the player that can give them the most in return. So I see why they're shopping him. They just have a backlog of point guards right now. Tyler Ulis, Brandon Knight, Eric Bledsoe. I would just, they've got some draft picks coming up that they can use to trade and make this roster valuable now. And I would just like to see them do that. I think that a lot of times these teams get too patient and they just like, we got these picks, let's just hold. Why? Like, go out and get these dudes, man. You never know what's going to happen down the line. Some of these teams that you think you're getting good draft picks for, they might go out and make the move, and now that draft pick is a late first-rounder, which is basically a second-round pick. Another team that I think should make some trades and blow up their entire thing is the Grizzlies. Grizzlies are just – they're getting too old to compete the way they like to play. Mike Conley, they signed him for the biggest contract in NBA history. If you want to keep him and build around him, fine. But I'm shopping everyone, and I'm just starting over because the biggest mistake they made was paying Chandler Parsons all that money to sit on the bench in nice suits. They can't really do much with that money sitting on their payroll and Mike Conley's and Marc Gasol. Zach Randolph's going to be a free agent. Blow it up. Start this thing over. Get some. They got some draft pick options coming up to where they can rebuild this thing, but take it a step further and retry with a different squad. I mean, you're just not. I mean, we've seen as far as they can take you, and you just got to try something else. It's just not. I don't know if they make the playoffs next year. I don't think they can play the same way, roll out the same roster they had this year. Now, granted, they did have a lot of injuries, but when you have the starting lineup of Cocoon out there running things for you, you're going to have some injuries. So I would like to see them make some moves because I like the Grizzlies. I like how they run their organization, and I would just hate to see them keep rolling out the same team just to get, they might get the 6th seed, but they're going to get bounced early. And the last team is the Hawks. All indications are they're going to be blowing this thing up. They traded Dwight Howard the other day. Apparently they're interested in signing a trade with Millsap, which will give him more money. Some of the teams that have been linked are the Suns, Kings, and Nuggets. If I'm the Suns, that's a great move for me. If I'm the Suns, I'm doing that. You still got your core on rookie contracts. Eric Bledsoe makes a lot, and maybe that's why they're trying to shop him, get rid of him, bring in Millsap, sign and trade. And I think that roster right now is a playoff team. So there's a lot of options for some of these teams. The Suns have a lot of options. Of course, the Celtics, I would like to see them be more aggressive, though. And tonight's going to be one of the most interesting draft nights that I can remember. And I couldn't be more excited for it. I'm hoping the Mavs don't do what they typically do, which is, trade down and then get some guy that they send overseas, which they've done numerous times, or they pass on guys like Greek Freak and all these other dudes that could be in Mavs jerseys right now. So let me know what you thought about my preview. Let me know what players you hope go to your teams tonight, what you're hoping your teams are looking to do. And we are on Twitter at boardsports.com or at boardsports, BORED Sports. We're also on YouTube. You can find us on there. We're on Libsyn, and we're also on Spreaker. So check us out. Let us know what you think of the show, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.